free to yell out as well. We're getting bored of our own voices.
So the issue about guiding assessment principles, obviously the first one, as it says on the screen, is begin with the end in mind. That is, what is it do you actually want to know that the students have gained from the experience of working in a subject with you? And I've used that phrase, gained from the experience, rather than learned, because often students equate learning with what they write in an essay or do in a test. But in a role play, it is much more about how they've been able to identify what they've gained. The second principle, it's got to be holistic and aligned. That is, the activity you ask them to do in the role play must be linked to the nature of the assessment, must be linked to the outcomes, and provide you and the student with feedback about what it is that has been beneficial to them, and how they have been able to or not able to identify what they've learned. The authentic learning, authenticity, it's always problematic for me because people are after authentic learning, but role plays are at best partial context. They're never the whole thing. I'm reminded of the king who once wanted a one-to-one scale map of his whole kingdom, and so the myth says the map makers went out and stuck poles up all over the territory and put canvas on top of the poles and began drawing a copy of the map to make an authentic full-scale map of the territory. Only, of course, after a while it fell down. You cannot do a role play that's totally authentic of everything in the context that you're trying to represent.
In fact, that's why we role play. And we role play in order to simplify reality, to enable those thought experiments and practice within safe environments. If we wanted the real experience, then we have to take the real risk. We have to take the real consequences if that goes wrong. And so the authenticity here and the integrity is around making a model that makes that learning possible, makes that experimentation safe. And I think allowing students to know the degree to which this represents reality, so where it does and where it doesn't match.
Okay, and while we're doing this, I'll confess on screen, we have got it. One of us had hit the pause button, and now we can see what you've been writing. So
it's all simple when you know how.
Yes. And in effect, for me, that's part of what happens in a role play. If this was a conventional classroom and we were the lecturers, then by now we'd be, with egg on our faces saying, oh dear, we should have known that. Or we would not have ever confessed that that's what we would have done, because we have to keep up a persona that says we are experts. In a role play, all of that disappears, and it becomes much easier for both the lecturer and the staff, students, to say, oh, I didn't understand that. And what has happened is that the learning then happens at a couple of different levels. One, there's the practical one of we've turned the arrow off, so now we can read what everything's saying. But two, we've also modelled for the participants, you in this case, but for students in our role plays, that not only is it okay to make mistakes, the only time it's not okay is if you try and conceal it.
I see a question here that Robin's asked. Do you have any stories about role plays that went really wrong? Yes. In terms of the online role plays, we sort of have examples, or all of us have examples of when we started out early and we certainly couldn't get participation.
I'll extend the Middle East one.
Yeah, yeah.
So Robin's question is about went really wrong. I'll extend the reference Elyssebeth made to the Middle Eastern simulation. In that one, the students work in trios to represent characters in current Middle Eastern politics. Last year in the running of it, a trio of students were exchanging text messages via phone to each other about how to be the character, whichever character they were playing. One of them sent a message that went to the wrong mobile phone. The text of it was approximately something to do with, why don't we try to sabotage, blow up, damage, destroy, something like that, items X or position Y. The text of the message will never be known. The person who received that message reported it to the online facility of, if it's suspicious, let us know, which goes to ASIO. ASIO tracked it to the student who'd sent it. The student explained why it had been there. ASIO went to the university chancellor. The chancellor closed it down, and the students moved into overdrive to convince the chancellor that it was a worthwhile learning exercise. And after agreeing to sign documents saying they understood what would happen if things go wrong, if they were allowed back online and allowed to finish it. To me, that's one of the most spectacularly, almost public examples of something that went wrong.
Yeah, but one of the points I was going to make is I can think of very few examples where it went wrong and the learning suffered. Ordinarily, the examples of where things go spectacularly awry, the learning is often enhanced because there's a whole range of lessons that come out of that, and negotiations and revelations that happen, and the students or the participants are generally right in it. They love the drama. They, and some of the most painful. One of the things that I've experienced a number of times in role plays is around teamwork, where students find it very difficult, where they have team members that don't perceive the expectations of the activity and the assessment in the same ways that they do. And yet by the debriefing report, you see such maturity in the way in which the students are processing that. So that gets presented then as the opportunity, the pain being the opportunity for deeper learning for them. And we've got something funny happening here anyway. It seems at 6 o'clock now. I think it might be useful to just make one more point in response to the guiding principles, and that is around allowing the unexpected and unanticipated so that the learning actually can be greater than that which we anticipated.
The two words that are highlighted in blue at the bottom of the slide are the two that drive this for me. When role plays have gone wrong, as Elyssebeth says, that's when the learning can be the most powerful, the most effective, the most authentic, and the most long-lasting. But in all those cases, they have combined efficiency and effectiveness. An essay can be a very efficient way, or a test a very efficient way of checking immediate knowledge. It's not a very effective way to check that the students have actually made sense of it, can apply it tomorrow or next week or next year, or even really understand it. So the unexpected and the unanticipated are often the places where students become most focused on working out what happened, working out what it means in their lives, and sometimes working out how the role play has accidentally paralleled for them their own home life,